want you to imagine that you are driving a sports car. Red. Nice leather interior. There's sunshine and miles of straight road in front of you. Barely a car in sight. What are you doing? You blasting the radio and singing along? Rolling the window down and breathing in the fresh air? Enjoying the moment? Now, I want you to imagine you're driving a 30-year-old rusted out little car on a windy road at night. The rain is pouring and the wind is blowing so hard you can feel it start to move the car. What are you doing? Are you white-knuckling the steering wheel? Are you driving below the speed limit? Is your radio now turned off? Are you praying? On sunshine days, when we're out driving about, we tend to go a little faster. I think our CHP here can attest to that. Everything becomes a blur. Our mind is a million miles away. These are the times when maybe we aren't paying attention and miss our exit. Has anyone done that? But it's okay because there's still plenty of time and space to turn around. But during those rainstorms, that's when we would never miss our exit because we are paying attention to everything. We notice every little bump in the road, every dip. We know how many cars are behind us and in front of us. We are tuned in. Well, I don't know about you, but I think for myself, I notice that I tend to pray more during stormy weather. Those are the times when I beg Jesus to take the wheel and to get me safely to my destination. I mean, don't get me wrong, I pray on beautiful days too, but just not with the same sense of urgency. Because it's during those rainstorms that I think we're just more alert, paying attention to every detail. We are sensitive to everything around us. We can't afford not to be. There's more to pray for and about. Or at least it seems so. Well, I imagine in Luke's gospel today, when I picture it in my mind, it's a bright, sunshiny day. But Jesus has come down from the mountain, and he's speaking with this group who is gathered there. This group of people who are desperate for hope, for healing, for peace, for comfort, for wholeness. And he's come down to their level. He's meeting them where they are at. And when he looks out at this crowd, he sees people who are hungry, who are grieving, who need him. He sees people like you and me, people who have been through many rainstorms and are still soaking wet. people in need. And so what Jesus preaches on this Sermon on the Plain, as it's called, it is actually descriptive rather than prescriptive. Jesus is telling it how it is. He's telling them what's what, not what should be, but the facts. And those facts turn everything upside down that these people have ever learned, everything that their society has taught. And it blows their minds. Because in that time and place in the world, especially among the Jewish people, the reigning thought was that if you were successful, if you were healthy, if you were wealthy, if you were powerful, if it seemed like there was sunshine always shining on you, it was because you had done something right and good and you had pleased God, and so God was blessing you. But if you struggled with your health, if your heart was empty, and so was your stomach, if you felt shame and despair, if it seemed like there was a cloud that followed you everywhere you went, then it was your fault. At some time, you must have made some poor choices, or sinned, or messed up, and ticked off God, and you were being punished. It didn't even have to be you who ticked off God. It could have been your parents or your grandparents who ticked off God, but you were still rightfully taking the consequences. And so others would feel superior to you and look down their noses on you. You know, as absurd as that seems, I don't know that our society has changed so very much. I think still much more than we would like to admit, we have a tendency of judging others who we don't know based on what's on the surface, what we see. But in Luke's gospel today, Jesus tells us that that is not how it works. People who are in stormy weather aren't there because God is ticked at them. They're experiencing storms because in this life that is beautiful and tragic, there are some days where there is lightning and thunder, and there are some days where there are rainbows. And in Luke's gospel, Jesus tells us that God resides in both. But sometimes God's maybe a little bit more visible in the storms. People who are experiencing stormy weather are blessed because they know that they need God, because they are more likely to call out for God's help. And so they are more often the ones who sense God's presence and experience God's love and grace and peace deep in their core. It's not that people who are walking in sunshine are bad. It's just that often we're just busy going on our way and we forget that we didn't get there by ourselves, and we get distracted by shiny things. And we breeze past all of the signs and miss how God's fingerprints are everywhere. We are full, and so we don't need to be filled. And we think we see miles of straight road in front of us, and so we want to drive. But the truth is, life isn't always stormy, and it's not always full of sunshine. It's a mixture of both. And even when there are clear skies, the road may still be slippery. The good news that Jesus preaches to those on the plain that day, the good news for us, is that Jesus promises, no matter the weather, that he is ready and willing and able to take our wheel. Whether there are hail and giant raindrops coming at us, or the sun is so bright it's blinding, Jesus promises that God is always with us, never leaving us. And we are blessed because we know that we are loved and known, that Jesus has called us his own and is always on this journey with us.